This episode is proudly brought to you by Helix NJ, which recently made some big news, some very big news. In case you missed it, Nokia Bell Labs announced their plans to invest in a new state-of-the-art research and development facility located at Helix NJ. Nokia considered approximately 25 different locations across the country for their new home, but ultimately they chose the Helix because of its proximity to major cities, its access to talent, its community of industry-leading companies and universities, and because of its cutting-edge facilities and environments. For those not yet familiar, Helix NJ is a new 5-acre state-of-the-art innovation district located in the heart of New Brunswick, New Jersey that will house some of the world's most brilliant minds, projects, and organizations pursuing critical, life-improving innovations. To learn more, visit www.helixnj.com. The New Jersey Innovation Institute is the conduit that connects one of the nation's leading polytechnic institutions, New Jersey Institute of Technology, to the outside world. Created to leverage the vast resources of NJIT, the New Jersey Innovation Institute is focused on fostering innovation, building companies, and upskilling New Jersey's workforce. NJI employs over 100 people and generates over $35 million in revenue per year in industries such as defense and healthcare. To learn more about the innovative strides being taken at the New Jersey Innovation Institute, head to njii.com.
Entrepreneurs and small business owners, are you feeling overwhelmed by lack of capital, growth challenges, or personal branding? You are not alone. UCS Advisors is here for you. We're professional capital raising advisors committed to helping you secure funding and grow your business. Are you ready to impress investors? Check your investor readiness with our free 45-second quiz at ucsquiz.com. We believe in you. Visit ucsquiz.com and start your success journey. And remember, always be willing to achieve your greatness.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings to the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Cam. We're here at Helpsy in Eatontown with Lisa Sciannella. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're in the warehouse again. I'm in the warehouse again. This is my second.
In the warehouse again.
Again, yeah. This is my second time here because I was on a panel, whatever that was, like a few months ago. Was that October?
Yeah, it was October,
Yeah.
and we were talking about all kinds of different industries, secondhand clothing industry stuff.
Yeah. Which I was a unique addition to that panel.
Or a very local addition to the panel.
You know, and I think I brought something to the table, I think.
Yes.
You know, but now we're back and talking more about what Helpsy is, what they do. So before we kind of get into that, let's do this. Let's tell the viewers, listeners, what Helpsy is, like 30,000 foot view. And then we'll kind of get into like what you do here, and then we'll kind of get into like the nitty gritty of like all the stuff as we kind of progress through the episode.
Good. So Helpsy has two missions. One, keep clothes out of the trash. 2, provide honorable work. And I guess 3, like make a profit.
Sure. Yeah.
We're a certified B Corp, so we are for profit, using business as a force for good. And basically we want to take clothes, textiles, shoes, linens, tablecloth, and divert it from the landfill. 85% of clothes end up in the trash. That's like a huge number, and it's, you know, unacceptable, and it's a really fast-growing waste stream.
Yeah.
The fastest, and it's only getting faster. So we want to do our part in, you know, diverting it from the landfill.
Yeah. So what do you do here?
So I'm chief of staff, so that means I wear lots of hats. Hopefully one of those
Yeah.
from New Jersey hats. So I do a lot of like fun things like planning the events. Like the panel that you were on this morning, we had some guests from recycling coordinators. I do kind of a little bit of everything.
Sure.
So that's fun.
Yeah, of course. And also being now like the face of Helpsy for this show.
For this show, I'm the face.
That's really cool. So let's talk about how Helpsy got started. So like how long has Helpsy been a thing?
So Helpsy started around 8 years ago as the acquisition of 3 just clothing bin collection companies. It was started by 3 co-founders, Alex, Dan, and Dave. They were lifelong friends, and they were all kind of at a point in their career, they're like, we want to make change. We want to do something impactful. So they started Helpsy, and they bought 3 bin companies. One of them was in New Jersey, one of them was in New York, and one was in Massachusetts, and they kind of like melded them all together. Since then, there's been other smaller acquisitions, and then a lot of innovation in like the sorting space, which I think brings a unique value to like the clothes.
Sure, because I mean, we're in a warehouse right now, and there's like, we just walked through downstairs, and there's like so much stuff.
There's so much clothes.
So much stuff here. Like, what do you do with all of it?
That's a great question. So we collect, just to give you some perspective, 31 million pounds of clothes a year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's about one item of clothing per second.
Yeah.
Which is huge. So what happens to it? The short answer is we promote resale and reuse, right? Because the most sustainable thing you can do with clothes that already exist is use them as clothes, use them again as clothes, use them again as clothes.
Sure.
And then when they're not usable as clothes anymore, okay, can we be used as like a wiper or stuffing or insulation, like anything to keep them out of the trash? So the short answer is we resell. We resell to lots of different channels. We resell full containers at a time, so 40,000 pounds at a time, or we sell through Helpsy Source, smaller packs of curated inventory by brand and condition. So if you're a thrift store or you're a reseller and you want 100 items of Zara that have been condition checked, hit us up.
Yeah, right.
You won't know exactly what size or style it is, but you'll know that it's Zara, and you'll know that it's been condition checked, and if that's a brand that you like or that you're knowledgeable about selling, like, you can flip it.
Yeah.
We want you to flip it.
Sure. And then, so you said resell. So like, who do you sell? Like, just to kind of like round out, like, I guess, like the life cycle of these things. Like, they come in and then they obviously get sorted, which we'll talk about, and like kind of the technology behind that a little bit. But then obviously like the resell side of it, like, who are you selling to? Like, how does that stuff work? Are you like the main seller of these things afterwards, or do you sell to like a reseller again, almost?
Yeah, so we're kind of like wholesale. So we sell B2B, so we sell to businesses. So if you are a larger business and you want 40,000 pounds of clothes, why do you want that much clothes? Well, you're probably a sorter grader yourself. You have your own thrift stores. You're looking for like a lot of inventory. So we can sell to you there. So once it gets to that sorter grader thrift store owner, whoever it is who's buying 40,000 pounds of clothes, they're likely going to sort it themselves. So the stuff that we're sending them hasn't been sorted by us.
Sure.
So they're going to sort it themselves and buy, whatever grades make sense to them and their customers. Most of that is resold as clothing.
Yeah.
How do we know that? Well, we ask them.
Yeah.
And then we also know that, the prices they pay, I mean, if they were just trashing it, it wouldn't make any sense, right? So there's obviously value in these clothes.
Yeah.
The sorters and graders usually have, for the lowest quality, they have kind of the capability to mechanically like cut them into wipers or shred them or make them into stuffing or insulation. So we don't personally do any of that,
Gotcha.
like mechanical recycling, but we suspect that our partners do.
Yeah. And so, on the beginning side of it, because now we're all over this place with this life cycle.
Right?
This is why I'm so.
This is how life is, though.
This is why I have so many notes that I took on like the A to B. So like, like I told you, I'm moving. So by the time this episode comes out, I would have already moved. So I have like 4 bags of clothes in the car, which I'll bring in after.
Which is very exciting. Thank you.
Of course, to just add to the millions of pounds of clothes that are here.
I usually bring bags of clothes to work too.
Which, I mean, it's great. Like, I was like looking at them for so long, and I was like, I really got to get rid of these. And I was like, I'm going to Helpsy on Friday.
I can't remember if it was like Christmas Day or New Year's Day, but one of those like holidays this year. It was like, oh, what are we doing with the kids? We're going to a Helpsy bin to put all their like stuff away.
Yeah. Okay, so like when I bring the stuff in, and I think it's good, or people can drop it in a bin, which are really all over the place. Like, I've seen the map.
They're all over, yeah.
And they're like all over the state, basically like all over the Northeast, really, right?
So we're across 10 states. We cover the entire state of New Jersey. Out of the 10 states, about like a third of our volume comes from New Jersey.
Sure.
It's really the heart and soul of our operation.
Yeah.
So where do we get clothes? Bins, like you mentioned, so those would be bins in parking lots. In New Jersey, our bins support the AMVETs, so you may see an AMVET sticker on them. We do clothing drives. We work with a lot of municipalities because what happens is the 85% of clothes that are ending in the waste stream are really now becoming the municipality's problem to handle that material, right? So if we can work with them and they can tell their residents, okay, don't put it in your trash, don't put it in your recycling, like put it in this bin. We not only save the municipality money, but Helpsy actually pays the municipality for the clothes that they help us divert. We do a lot of clothing drives, home pickups. We work with a lot of thrift stores because they only sell usually about 25% of the clothes they get.
Okay.
So even the large thrift stores, like Savers or Goodwill, half of the stuff that comes in the door like isn't good enough for the sales floor. It's rejected. They're huge operations. They have their own baling and their own like outlets for that. But think of a smaller thrift store. They don't have a warehouse in the back that's going to bale their stuff, and they don't have connections to sell 40,000 pounds of rejected clothing. But we can buy it from them. So Helpsy will send the truck, we'll pick up from the back, and basically that helps them like cycle their inventory and basically get rid of, find better uses for the clothes that didn't sell.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question, and I know that you do like the AmVet stuff. You guys do also, like you mentioned. When people they have bags of clothes and they go to the local supermarket or whatever and they see the bins a lot of times there's like multiple bins, like different brands of bins. Is that,
different companies, vendors, operators.
So like whether it's an operator or whether it's like bringing it directly to a nonprofit or something that like does stuff for homeless or outreach and like all that kind of stuff, like how does that play into kind of like your model, I guess, and like why is Helpsy like a good spot for people to know that like where they're dropping their clothes off is a place that they know it's gonna like either find a good home or like be given to somebody that's like that needs it.
So I'm glad you brought up the nonprofits because that is like a very common misconception is nonprofits, kind of like thrift stores, get so much volume more than they can handle, and you may be well-intentioned and be dropping off 6 bags or 10 bags or 20 bags or whatever to this nonprofit, and maybe that nonprofit their mission is helping people re-enter the workforce. Okay, so they're probably looking for like professional clothes. They're probably not looking for your sweats and your t-shirts, but you just gave that to them anyways.
Right.
And so then they have kind of a burden or a shortage of like labor and space to sort through it all. So they work with us too, and we buy stuff for them and basically turn their unusable or clothing to them that they can't use directly for their mission into funds to do their work.
Gotcha.
So we do work with a lot of nonprofits. Last year, we through all of our nonprofit partnerships, we paid about $500,000 for that. So you can feel good about giving Helpsy your clothes because you know that we're going to take extra care to make sure it finds its next best youth. You also know that we are supporting a lot of nonprofits. And we're really creating honorable work. So all of our employees are paid living wages. They're all shareholders in the company. I just pulled the stats for last year. So I'm very excited to say over 73% of our workforce is diverse. 37% of senior management is female. And 37% of senior management were internal promotions or internal hires.
Amazing.
So like super cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like that because like if you didn't know anything about what you just mentioned, I think like it almost has like this idea of like, just bring us your old stuff and we're going to sell it and make money off your stuff. But it's like way deeper than that. And there's like way more to it rather than just like secondhand fashion or whatever, which is just kind of like a surface level thing. Like there's so much good that happens here. Like help is in the name, and it is helpful for people, whether they're working here or, benefiting in whatever capacity from the services that you guys provide. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I'll share another kind of fact going back to kind of our workforce is a lot of our employees have a variable comp part of their pay. So, for example, our drivers, they get a pretty low hourly wage, but then they get paid for every single pound of clothing they bring in.
Yeah.
So we just finished awarding our top 7 drivers of last year. They each brought in over 1 million pounds on their own, which is wild. So we have a 1 million pound club.
Yeah.
And so we had 7 drivers who were part of the 1 million pound club. Okay, cool. Those 7 drivers earned really well. Our average driver earns about $70,000 a year. These drivers earn more. And they earn every penny of that. And like our kind of mentality is like rah, like, yes, I want you to make more than me. Like work hard, like do it. Like you literally brought in the pounds.
Yeah.
So another way to think about it is like we are creating honorable work. What does that mean? Roughly like 20-ish bins equal is a full job. It's a full job for somebody in the sustainable economy.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
And a bin, when we're talking about bins, it's like this yellow bin behind you is a bin?
Great question. These are, I would call these yellow carts.
Okay. That is a good name for them. It's very descriptive.
Yep, yellow cart on wheels.
Yeah.
Our bins They're like the metal bins in the parking lot.
Okay.
They're like, I would fit in them.
An actual, like a drop-off
Yeah,
bin.
exactly. So
Gotcha.
like every 20 or so is a job. If we're sorting the clothes, then it's 2 jobs.
Sure.
And we are a second chance employer intentionally. So if you're formerly incarcerated, made a mistake, whatever it is, like we don't really care. We just want you to work hard. And if you work hard, you will do well here.
Yeah. Was that like when the 3 guys that founded the company started, was that the model initially, or did that kind of like evolve over time to like really become like an all-encompassing like source of good, essentially?
Yeah, so that was absolutely from the get-go. From when they started, they were all in points in their careers where they wanted to drop it and switch and do something really meaningful. So it was like woven into like the fabric of Helpsy.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah. It's well done. It's like you've done this before.
No, that just came out.
Yeah. No, I think it's super interesting because, you know, like this is the first type of episode that we've done like this type of business. Like we've had a couple nonprofits, one in particular that like does a lot of stuff for like homeless outreach, and they have like a closet where like people can drop off stuff, but they're like limited in space.
Right. So then what we would want to do with that closet is be like, okay, accept any donation you can.
Right.
If it's not useful for you, we'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
And then you just turned in whatever you rejected into money for your to like fund your mission.
Sure, that's interesting because we might have to.
You might actually
make an
do
intro.
that. Yeah.
Because she now she just opened up a second one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Like, what am I going to do with all that stuff? Like, yeah, that's very common for nonprofits and thrift stores, and there are a lot of mission-driven nonprofit thrift stores.
Of course,
you know, and so people with the best of intentions are like, oh, I'm going to take all of my kids' clothes and their toys, and I'm going to give it to the nonprofit or the church because like they can use it. And the reality is like it's hard work to match items with like who's going to use them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, because it's like, okay, it needs to be, and this is clothing. All right, it needs to be like a brand that's good enough. It needs to be in good enough condition. Also, the person of that size needs to walk through my store and want it in the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, I got to get rid of it.
Yeah, which is crazy. So if they have it and it's in there for 2 weeks and nobody comes in to buy it in that 2 weeks, they need to get rid of it. Do they come back to you? Be like, here, take this back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then you just sell it again.
Okay, basically. And on our goal, really with Helpsy Source, which is like the sorting part of the business where it's like by brand, and the collect side, which is the collections, is really like close the gap for thrift stores. Like, okay, let us take everything you don't want. We'll sort it. We'll give you by brand what you want, because that could vary by, you know, geographical location or demographics. Like some thrift stores have niches and they only want vintage.
Yeah.
Others want more contemporary, whatever they want, and kind of like make that loop. And then, you know, we sell them whatever. It didn't work. We get it back, and just kind of like around and around we go.
Yeah. How do you? And I'm sure this is like a lot of just like research and data and like different things like that too. But like when you're putting together like these different, like you said before, like 40,000 pounds of stuff, or like certain brands of clothes that like people can buy. You don't really know what's in it's like a mystery box, but you know it's going to be like this brand on it. Like, how do you know how to break those out in those particular ways?
Oh, that's like, we have a whole team that does that.
I'm sure.
So Jessica's team, hi Jessica.
We're supposed to be on the episode, but you know, unfortunately.
That's what they do, is that they're really experts in brands and resale and knowing how, like, what needs to go with what. And then we also have, I think it's about 6,000 customers who are either thrift stores or resellers, and it's like a constant feedback loop. Like, and we adjust like pricing and based on sell-through rates, we know like what's hot and what's not.
Yeah.
I personally don't. I know like 3 brands.
You're right. Yeah. Same. I mean, yeah. Because I think like that's super interesting because, you know, when you're dealing with just like the volume of stuff that's actually like in here, to know like, okay, we need to take how many millions of pounds did you say?
31
million pounds of clothes a year.
Yeah.
To break that down into whatever it is.
So we don't sort every single pound of those 31 million.
Okay.
We don't. It's a growing percentage what we sort. But, you know, the more that we can sort and scale that up, like, you know, the better, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, guess how many brands we have in our database?
I don't even know.
Because I know 3 brands. You know 3. It might be the same 3.
Yeah, it might be the same 3. I don't know, like 100
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know. Like,
depending on who you ask, it's either 20,000 or 200,000. Why is there such a difference? Okay, we have 20,000 brands that are like significant, like we've collected more than 5. You know, there's a whole tale of like, oh, it's a brand, we got 1, you know, an obscure brand. So we have 20,000 brands like in our database. That means we have pricing and like we know what that brand is. Which is super cool. So if you are a sorter, you don't need to know any brands, because the app will tell you like exactly where it needs to go, like what damage levels are tolerable for each brand. So for example, if it's like a lower priced brand, I don't know, like maybe it's like Gap. Well, you don't really tolerate any like damaging Gap because
it's basically like it's going to disintegrate after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if it was, here's another brand that I know, Lululemon, it's a more expensive brand. Yeah. Let's see if I can do one more. Yeah. Maybe that tolerates like a higher level of damage because maybe like light pilling is acceptable because that brand is valuable enough that someone would buy it again. Yeah. That kind of thing. So you don't need to have those tolerances or like all those combinations. Or the app will tell you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could do a third brand.
You did great. 2 out of 3's. Get you the whole thing.
I think I can't remember what that wedding dress was.
Yeah, I mean, that thing, I don't know either. But, but I think, like, so, really, like, when people, so there's really no, like, stigma on, like, if I have bags of clothes, I should just bring them.
Right.
You know?
And so we don't want, I just talked about 2 of 3 brands that I know. Yeah. And those are obviously like good, wonderful items, but we also accept things that are a loose sock, a shirt that has stains or holes in it, because the reality is that those items still have value as a material.
Right.
And so we are really the experts in like taking in everything and figuring out who can use it or where it can go.
Yeah.
So like you shouldn't feel embarrassed to like drop off a bag in a bin that's like, oh, this has sweat stains.
Yeah, right. Because I think
or like, oh, this is really nice. They want to make sure someone gets it. Like, we will handle it responsibly. Basically.
Yeah, because I think like that. I don't know if that's like a fear for people, but like when they do drop off stuff, you know, like if they bring stuff to like a nonprofit and they want to make sure it's like warm stuff or whatever, you know, like that's obviously significant. But then maybe they also don't want to drop off, you know, like their higher end stuff onto different, just like a bin. Like they don't know where it's going half the time, or at least that's like the mindset that some people have. You know, but then obviously like knowing, like if you see a Helpsy bin, you could almost kind of like know exactly where it's going to wind up at some point.
It's going to wind up here.
Yeah, right here, where we are.
And know that like, you know, you're part of like a sustainable ecosystem, and we're creating, you know, meaningful employment for people.
Yeah. Right.
So it's all part of that, and we're giving back to the community. We just wrapped up our Project Warmth for this winter. So out of our sort, we find warm winter coats and we donate them to nonprofits.
Amazing.
Everyone that needs it. So if you know of anyone, we're about wrapping up for this year, but it won't be long before we start looking for donation partners for the next winter.
Yeah, absolutely. I just looked at the time. Let's take our break.
Okay.
And we'll come back for segment 2 and we'll talk about more stuff. Yeah, all the rest of the stuff that we haven't talked about so far. So this is the Greens for the Garden State podcast powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Hamm. We're here with Lisa Sciannella at Helpsy in Eatontown, New Jersey. We'll be right back.
The Male Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about the crew over at Make Cool Shit. These are the magicians who recently gave our podcast a jaw-dropping makeover. You know how we roll here at Greetings from the Garden State podcast, right? We're all about that Garden State attitude. Well, Make Cool Shit shares that same vibe, and they've got something absolutely epic to offer. It's called the Unlimited Cool Shit Design Subscription. It's a game changer, my friends. Imagine this: unlimited creativity, one flat monthly fee, and none of that boring stuff. It's like having your very own army of design superheroes on speed dial. Whether you're a fresh-faced startup or a seasoned business looking to shake things up, the team at Make Cool Shit has got your back. It's all about making your brand sizzle, no matter where you are in your journey. So if you're ready to turn your ideas into mind-blowing realities, then it's time to connect with Make Cool Shit. Check them out on Instagram at WeMakeCoolShit or visit their website, WeMakeCoolShit.co. Remember, that's co, not com.
Greetings from the Garden State is proud to be partnered with some amazing brands. A special thanks to LeGrand Coffee House, our official coffee, and Birdling, our official travel bag. To learn more about these and all of our other great sponsors, head to greetingsfromthegardenstate.com.
All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings to the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Hamm. We're here in Eatontown, New Jersey at Helpsy with Lisa Sciannella, Chief of Staff. First segment, we learned so much, like all about like waste and clothing becoming, or textiles becoming the largest, would you say the largest?
Fastest growing
waste stream.
Period.
Stop.
It's doubled in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff that kind of goes into like Helpsy as a whole, like what it is, what you guys do, who you work with. And you had told me off mic that like you haven't been doing textile recycling or, sustainability stuff like your whole career, right? You were doing something totally different.
Yes. In my previous career, I was a secondary math teacher.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a pivot. But one thing that I'm very grateful for in my current role is that I can kind of weave that in again into the fabric.
Yeah.
Into the fabric of my job.
One more brand that you're going to like crush every topic we had to do today. Yeah.
One more brand. Okay. But so what that means in all honesty is I really think their outreach is a really important part of our mission, keeping clothes out of the trash. If people don't even know it's a problem, like they won't even think twice about it.
Sure.
So something that I love to do, it's a passion project and it's a New Year resolution project for me, a new school year, was to go into schools. So I really want to partner with, the green teens or the science teachers or the math teachers, like anyone who will have me.
Yeah.
I'll go in and do a lesson. I used to write Common Core curriculum. So this week I was lucky enough to be in a school and just teach kids about textile recycling, just sharing with them some stats about how much clothes ends up in the trash, how much of the landfill is actually full of clothes, how many pounds per year the average person discards. It's really eye-opening, and that's really how we kind of spread the message, that clothes aren't trash.
Yeah, which is really cool. And I think what we also want to talk about, too, from an education side, and this is how we do a segue. Education in the sense of, like we talked a lot about the stuff at the beginning where people, not necessarily, like, knowing where their clothes go or, like, what to do with them when they're kind of, like, lived out your own personal use of them, their life. And then kind of like I said, like what to do with them after. And then when they're buying clothes, when people are buying clothes, it's like, cheaper sometimes is nice.
Yeah.
So like, why not just go to, I don't know, we don't have to name any, no free ads for any of the fast casual restaurants. No.
No, plus we reached 3 brands.
Fast fashion. But like, talk to me a little bit about that and like the importance of education for what you guys do to make sure that people are aware of not only what you do, but like why you do it.
Yeah, so I think there's part of why this job is so interesting is that it involves so many different stakeholders, right? If we're trying to fix textile waste, okay, well, that means municipalities, because that's currently where clothes are going. They're going to municipalities. They're going to municipal waste stream. It's also just the general public. Hey, there's a lot of clothes ending up in the trash. Don't throw it out. If it's tattered, like it still has a useful purpose. But then it's also the retailers, the brands, the producers. That's another part of another part of the equation, I guess. So if you're trying to buy clothes, the best clothes you can buy are clothes that already exist. So thrift stores are a great place to buy clothes.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy something new, like there's no shame in buying something new, but then dispose of it responsibly. Don't throw it in the trash. Give it to somebody, do a swap, find a clothing drive, anything like that. I think on average, garments are worn 7 times before they're discarded.
Interesting.
So
I don't subscribe to that.
I think most men don't.
Yeah. I mean, these pants have seen some days.
Like,
this hat I wear every day.
So my personal rule of thumb is like, if I've worn it 7 times and I don't want it anymore, I feel no shame in getting rid of it. I'll put it in a thrift store, I'll put it in a Helpsy bin, and just like round and around it goes. I love buying clothes from thrift stores. I'm actually headed to one this afternoon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm going to Mint Market. Valerie was on our panel in October.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So shout out to
Where's that one again?
She has a couple of locations. I'm going to the Hoboken one.
Oh, cool.
So wish me luck.
Awesome. No, that's great.
But it's like, it should be, fashion doesn't have to be like inhibiting. Like, you don't need to like curtail all your purchases and be like, okay, these are my 3 pieces of clothing.
Yeah, right.
I'm sustainable.
Yeah.
It can be fun. You can cycle out your wardrobe. Like, just kind of do it more mindfully.
Yeah, for sure. And then like, because we did the panel, like we said, back in October, but you guys do like a lot more stuff, other panels, other ways that you kind of like get education stuff in front of people, right?
Yeah, so we are very passionate about outreach. I love talking. So we are happy to be guest speakers at schools. We're happy to talk to recycling coordinators. We're happy to host like events and tours. Really, anything you can think of, we'll pretty much say yes.
Yeah.
Because that is really important for people to even know that it's a problem,
Yeah.
right? And like, what are things that we can do? Well, collectively, we can make a really big impact.
Yeah, and what do you think, and I know we touched on a couple over the course of the episode so far, but like when you are educating and doing outreach and like all that kind of stuff, like what do you think people are kind of like sleeping on the most, like missing the boat on, or like they need the most education and awareness around more often than other topics, I guess?
I think the things that people are most surprised to learn,
Sure.
I guess I'll answer it
That's
that way.
a better way to ask it.
People are most surprised to learn the amount per person per year. So I'll put you on the spot and have you guess. Okay, so how many pounds per year per person in the U.S. are we like discarding?
Of clothes or
so
just
people
all
go
together?
through. Yeah, so like one person, what's the average that they discard? in a
Okay, can I
year?
ask a question? Just so I can answer this question
Yeah,
more
question.
educationally or educated. Like, is like one article of clothing a pound?
They're,
A little less?
we usually say it's like 0.75 pounds is
0.75
one item.
pounds.
So it's like roughly 1 pound an item.
Okay, so the average person, not me, like I said, that's going to discard per year, and knowing that you guys bring in several million pounds, tens of millions of pounds a year, I'm going to say like per person, 75 pounds of clothes a year.
You're really close.
Yeah,
It's
that's
high.
I needed that. I
But-
needed the
But yeah, you had good thinking on asking
Thank you.
a smart question to
Sure.
like ground yourself.
to a math teacher, no less.
Yeah, I said it's like around a pound an item because jeans are heavier, but like a pair of Patagonia, brand number 4,
Yep.
shorts, I don't know, they weigh like an ounce.
Yeah.
So it's like roughly 0.75. But it's 115 pounds of textiles per person per year.
Wow.
85% of that goes to the trash. That's a really high number. In Europe, it's like 47 pounds per person, so they're a little further along.
Yeah.
They're further along for a couple of reasons. Europeans are just further along in a lot of things. But a lot of that has to do with like legislation.
Yeah.
So EPR, so extended producer responsibility, has existed in Europe for across multiple materials. They're getting ready to do a lot of like textile legislation. I think it may have passed already, but they're just kind of more aware of that. California and New York are thinking about it. They have bills that have been proposed, and like that'd be great for them to get passed. Massachusetts banned textile waste in 2022, so that was a big like awareness push. So we do a lot of work with municipalities in Massachusetts because they passed the bill.
Sure.
They passed the ban. And so their municipalities are a little bit more motivated to find.
So what does that mean?
solutions.
Like if people throw out clothes, like they get a fine or something? Is that how that
I think
operates?
so. Yeah, something along those lines. I don't think that there's an environmental police
through
in front of every of every household. I think it's like an awareness ban. So we've noticed a lot of brands in Massachusetts, like, okay, my end of life stuff, my damages, my returns, I used to throw it in the trash. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Can you help us? I'm like, of course we can.
Yeah, right.
We'd be happy to help. But for example, we work with the city of Boston, so we collect from their residents' homes. We have bins there. We do clothing drives. They're a great partner for us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then like we talked about like legislation and stuff too, which I knew we wanted to kind of like touch on because like that, I think, helps dictate a lot of like the stuff that you guys can do, and like the more, I guess conceivably, like the more clothes you have access to, the more good overall you can do for all the stuff that we've kind of covered
And so
throughout.
if the responsibility of the garment, of the end of life garment, is placed on the producer, so a brand or a retailer, that really makes them have to find solutions for their garments. They can't just produce by the bajillions of pounds and then be like, all right, well, it'll end up where it ends up. So fashion is very unregulated. It's a very unregulated industry, and I think that needs to change. I think we're kind of on the cusp of a lot of exciting movement. But until that changes, and unless they're required to make that change, we're kind of working on all the other stakeholders. So like the thrift stores and nonprofits and municipalities, working with the resellers to like find good homes for the clothes.
Yeah.
All of that's important for brands that are kind of thinking about, okay, when these bills pass, when I actually have to, take responsibility for my production, what can I do? Well, Helpsy has a ton of data on brands, condition, items, where it came from, what state did it come from, a bin, did it come from a thrift store. So we can also inform a lot of their strategy, like their sustainability strategy, like what to actually do. Does a take back program make sense? They think they're surprised to learn how much of their clothes we get.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, because I mean, they would think that like everybody's wearing it.
Exactly.
It's not going in a bit. It's
at least 7 times.
Yeah, at least 7 times. So I find it really interesting because like we're talking about like data and we're talking about like you just like see the scope of the place in here, and it's like just like the logistics and the technology behind a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing here has to be like tremendous. So can we kind of like talk a little bit about the sorting technology, sort of?
Yeah.
Because like we have.
This is like our fulfillment area.
Yeah. So like we're
Oh,
sorting
there's a
some
bunch
things.
of brands on there.
Yeah. Oh, Eddie Bauer. I know that one. Lulu's, Juicy, Rag&. Okay. Yeah, there's more.
There's brands.
I could have been cheating the whole time. Like I can, all those. But so take me through that a little bit because I think like that's super interesting because like we talked about, how if you're a nonprofit or like a local thrift store, like you're kind of limited in the stuff that you could take in from the public.
And a lot of times those nonprofits donations are being sorted by volunteers.
Yeah.
So then how inconsistent are their judgment calls on like what they want to keep versus not? Okay, so our sorting app we call Quick Scan. It was developed in-house by our tech team. They're awesome. We're super proud to work with them. And it's been iterated time and time again. Each time we add things to make it smarter. We do brand, we do condition, and it's like, okay, does it have a broken zipper? Does it have this? Does it have that? But it's very smart, so it won't ask the sorter, if you type in Hanes or like a lower value brand, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's in perfect condition because it's just not viable for resale, so we'll put it in a different book.
Gotcha.
Right, so it's only going to ask the sorter to check condition for stuff that like, ooh, maybe it has a shot at being, resold. That way it's all about efficiency and we're not wasting time with that. So that data, we can like cut it and splice it in a bunch of different ways, and we can supply data for a specific brand. They can do like market segmentation, be like, okay, fast fashion brands, luxury brands, mall brands, whatever it is, and like see how their individual brand compares to those. I pulled, I want to say, could have been in around October, data for what we had sorted through for a couple fast fashion brands and then some mall brands. And what was surprising was the fast fashion brands' condition was better.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? That means they probably wore it once or twice and then got rid of it. Right. You know what I mean? It didn't have a chance to disintegrate.
Well, because you almost like know going in that
exactly.
This is, I need a.
You're like, I need an outfit for today.
Yeah, right. Literally. And to like, just get something cheap, fast, and then wear it, and then
it's disposable.
It serves no purpose to you after that.
So that's kind of a problem in how we think of things. It's like, okay, clothes can't be disposable. They can't be manufactured to be disposable, and they shouldn't be consumed to be disposable. We should generally try to buy, higher quality items and like keep them in use a lot. That's another reason why thrift stores are fantastic, because those higher quality items, they do cost more.
Sure.
But like maybe buy them secondhand so they don't cost quite as much. That's like another value add of the thrift store. Yeah. Besides it being like super sustainable, like a lot of you support local business.
Right.
And all that.
Can the average person come to Helpsy to buy a thing? Or
great question. Usually no.
Okay.
Because we're B2B. At a lot of our events, we do like a shop the floor.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a free for all.
Yeah, sure.
And so those are a lot of fun. We're doing one tomorrow, and I'm like, low key, I saw a couple things that I wanted.
Yeah. Better get in there. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe I'll let myself first. But usually no. Usually we sell B2B. So it's like if you are a person and you want a jacket that fits your size, like we're not for you.
Yeah. Right.
Go to one of our thrift stores. We work with 200 like brick and mortar thrift stores in our footprint. Like, go to one of them.
Yeah, if someone is listening to this episode and they're like, oh, I like the fact that you guys take the time and care and the technology side of it to kind of know that like whatever these thrift stores are getting from Helpsy is quality stuff that they would want, is there like a place that they can go to like look at the list of partners that you guys have, that like the ones that you work with?
Thrift store partners?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. We have at helpsy.co find a bin. where you can find basically drop-off locations. The thrift stores would show up there if you're looking for like, what do we give thrift stores, or like what do we sell?
Or more just okay, I live in Morristown right now, so like Morristown, okay, like are there partners of there like that I know that they're getting stuff consistently from Helpsy, so I know that like their stuff is going to be maybe a little bit higher quality, and I can check in on them every couple weeks to see what they're getting. Maybe not.
I'm thinking, because I'm like, we don't actually do that yet, but like that's a really good idea.
Yeah, there you go. That one's free.
I'm like, yes, we should.
Yeah.
As long as our partners are cool with it. Because even with for our collection points, they have the option to be private, which means that they won't be on their bin. But like that is a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm glad I came.
I gave you an extra brand, you gave me a great idea.
Yeah. Just because I think like that's like an interesting way to kind of like
check out our inventory. It's over there.
Yeah, right. And like I do think that there is something to be said for like, you can go to like a random thrift store and never know if they're going to have anything close to like what I would actually want. Yeah. Or you can kind of know that they're like
thrift stores are so awesome. I love going to thrift stores. They all have like such a cool collection of stuff. So part of the joy of thrifting is like the hunt.
Yeah, right, of course.
But that hunt is very disappointing if you can't find anything in your size, or like anything
an educated hunt.
Yeah, an educated hunt. Yeah. Totally. That's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I think like also like as we're talking about all this stuff and all the stuff that you guys are already doing, are there things like projects and different things that you guys like? Obviously, like this idea that I just gave you, but like
over the rest of the year.
Yeah, but moving into like other plans and things that you guys are trying to like push for that maybe you're not doing right now, but you wanna do, because it seems like this whole thing is just kind of like ever evolving.
It's ever evolving. Yeah.
So like, what's next? Kind of coming.
Yeah. So something that's on the kind of the newer side is like the brands returns and damages. Like I said, when this legislation happens, like it's kind of more at the forefront of the retailer's mind. Like we can handle like returns. We have a couple brands they're made in China, but their returns get shipped directly to us. So we just handle their returns. Because a lot of returns are actually a really big problem for e-commerce because it's so expensive for them to process and like receive it back, and like someone has to check it and restock it. Most of the time they just get trashed. Yeah. And so we'll not only like take them, handle them responsibly, but we'll also pay the brand for them, depending on what it is. But most of the time, like there's enough value that we would actually pay the brand for their clothes and then deal with responsibly handling their end of life or damages or whatever.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's like something we hope to build on.
Yeah, because that's like something as a consumer you don't even think about.
You don't.
Doesn't fit, and e-commerce has become.
Or people, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to buy 4 of the same thing, and one of these sizes is going to fit. Right. They're not all going to fit, and then the ones that you send back, they may be handled by like a 3PL or something, or they may end up in the abyss. But those are all things that are part of like our consumerism.
Sure. Yeah. This is kind of like a little bit off book, like not anything that we discussed before during this episode so far, but kind of like, I'm just curious, like how or why, or maybe there's just because, did Jersey kind of become the home for Helpsy?
Yeah. So I mentioned that previously there's 3 main acquisitions, right? Helpsy New Jersey was the biggest one. So, and most of the workforce is like somewhat local to Jersey. Yeah. So it's just kind of like worked out that way. Yeah. So all the sorting happens in Eatontown. So just by virtue of that, we have more employees at this warehouse. Yeah. Right. The other warehouses just do like just processing the material. Here, we're actually like sorting it. There's like fulfillment. Most of our events are here. We do some in New York and Massachusetts, but this beautiful space lends itself to more events.
I mean, listen, I told you that when we did the panel, and it's still set up over there, and I think I was sitting in this exact chair for the panel because I was all the way on the end. So it was one of these two. But just like the way that you guys have it set up, and I just like the vibe because you're like in it.
Yeah, you're like, this is it.
And you can like feel it a little bit, and then even the furniture up there is
all secondhand,
which is really cool.
Yeah, this came from one of our thrift store partners. We're having an event. We need furniture. What you got?
Yeah, so that also does lead to another question, because when we were walking through downstairs, I saw like a teddy bear in one bin and like some other stuff. Are you like...
Like, what do we do?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
So our bins say clothing and shoes. People put non-clothing and shoe things in there, such
There's a couple hats
as teddy
in my
bear.
bag. Yeah.
But also things like, we call it bric-a-brac, which is like plastic toys or like tchotchkes things. People put that in their, drop-offs. People put electronics. So we get it. People put books. We get enough of these kind of ancillary things that, like, okay, we're not in the business of throwing things in the trash.
Yeah.
All right, let's put them all together and see if there's a market for a Gaylord or a pallet of stuffed animals. And there is.
Yeah.
We started last year. We launched e-waste recycling because we get enough toasters and TVs and like whatever in our bins. It's like, hey, well, I don't want to throw this in the trash.
Right.
Like, not only will it cost us money, but it all kind of goes against our mission. We also do plastic bag recycling. So our sorters are tearing open bags of clothing. Okay, what do we do with all these torn bags?
Yeah.
We have a partner that recycles them. So yeah, like we kind of think about as much as we can, what can we divert from the trash, even if it's not like our primary
For sure. It seems
material.
like every, like you said, not your primary material, like not clothes, but
Right.
there's like still so many like
Luggage.
ancillary things.
People put like, we get a lot of luggage.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so we palletize them and wrap them up, and we have customers who want luggage.
Yeah.
And we're like, cool. I mean, it's not like
Sure.
a ton of money, but it's better than throwing them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it seems like anything is better than throwing
Yes.
a lot of the stuff out, because like even as we were talking about before, like all the stuff that you guys do with like, like rags or wipes or insulation or whatever, like there's so many different things that can happen with it, which is kind of like then covers a lot of the waste in other aspects
Right.
of
Yeah, so
life,
95% of what we get, we can use either
Yeah.
as clothing or as something else.
Right. What's the other 5%?
Wet,
Oh.
mold, contaminated.
Yeah, and then
Can't do
that's
it.
got to get
Yeah.
tossed.
So that's another reason people sometimes are surprised to hear, like, please put your clothes in a plastic bag because it protects the clothing.
Yeah.
There's plenty of plastic bags that already exist. Don't buy a new one.
Right.
Just reuse whatever plastic bags that you have, and know that if we tear them open, we're going to recycle those bags.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Awesome. Well, this has been great.
Thanks.
I thought you did an amazing job telling. There's so
Thank
many.
you. There's so much
so many
to say.
different, and I know
No,
that we
I
probably
appreciate your interest.
missed a couple.
I mean, I
things.
definitely missed 20,000 brands. I'm counting.
Yeah. Nasty Gal. There's one. Actually, it's the first one I saw. So if people like want to learn more, like where can they go to do that? Social handles, website, whatever you guys want to put out there.
www.helpsy.co is our main website. You can reach out at info@helpsy.co. My personal email is lisa@helpsy.co. I'm happy to, talk and answer any questions that you have. We have a great team that's also able to answer questions. And if you're just curious, reach out, keep an eye on our social media. Like our Instagram is Helpsy and Helpsy Source. We post when we have events. If you're interested in just coming for a tour or shopping or whatever, like we can set that up.
Yeah.
Last year we welcomed over 300 guests to our warehouse. And
for tours
and stuff like
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think we'd be happy to have more guests this year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I mean, I feel like that doesn't happen a lot. Like looking behind the curtain, sort of.
And in this industry, that's pretty rare. Like
Yeah.
that level of transparency doesn't exist. We talked a little bit about data. Like we're a little crazy about data, but like if you want reports, if you're a municipality, work with people, tell you every day that we were there. We'll give you reports on pickup, tonnage, so you can apply for sustainable jewelry, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we're like, oh yeah, we'll do that. Sure, you want information? Like we're happy to help.
Awesome. So I'll put the links and all those things in the show notes. People just go click on them if they do want to learn more and interact with you guys in some capacity, whatever that may be. And also you said that there's like a map of bins that they can check out. Find a bin.
Yep.
So that if they do have stuff to drop off, you don't actually have to drive it all the way to Eatontown.
I mean, but you can if you're
You could. Yeah, I did. I could have done the find a bin thing and just dropped it off there and, gave 4 bags to somebody to help bump up
Yeah,
there.
exactly. You just took
That's my
that
bad.
from a driver's
That's my bad,
commission.
drivers. No, I think this has been great. I really appreciate you jumping on with us today and doing this and having me here again.
It's great. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming again.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Of course. Again, Helpsy links will be in the show notes, so you can go click them, check them out, along with greetingsfromthegardenestate.com, which is obviously the website for the show, so you can check out all of our other great episodes that we released in 2024, because so far our episode list is insane.
Through the roof.
Through the roof.
You're weaving in that fabric.
I am weaving the fabric, yes. But this has been the Greetings to the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Eatontown, New Jersey today at Helpsy with Lisa Sciannella. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.